Welcome to The Power of Rhythm, a podcast with your host Reinhard Flatischler, founder of Mega Drums, TaKeTiNa Symphonic, and a worldwide network of groundbreaking rhythm training. This podcast will offer you an incredible diversity of voices around the one thing that connects us all: rhythm.
And welcome to episode 11 of my podcast. My guest today is a celebrity again, and a very special man.
A celebrity.
Yeah, starting with groups like Gothic Horizon in the late 60s, he soon went to solo projects and became a prominent UK singer and songwriter, who was asked by Fleetwood Mac to be their special guest on the UK Rumours tour. But soon he recognized the destructive lifestyle that can come along with a rock and a pop stage life, and he turned to the world of meditation and Eastern philosophy. In 1980, he was initiated into sannyas by Osho, back then known as Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and he soon became the main musical influence in his ashram in Pune. Today he tours all year long with his wife and musical partner Deva Premal and flutist Manao Singh, connecting thousands of people in chant, prayer and deep musical experiences. Welcome, Miten.
Thank you, brother. That's nice to see you.
So great. We have definitely already shared some quality time together. But you know, this podcast actually gave me a new opportunity to get down to some secrets of you that I didn't know before, and I could investigate in it, and I want to share, of course, with my listeners. So when I listened yesterday to this Living on a Shoestring, I was so much connected to the time when I was hitchhiking myself with a guitar, you know. Jimi Hendrix was just a barkeep. There was not even, Woodstock didn't happen yet. So, and I really ask you, could you take us back for a moment to this time where you played with Fleetwood Mac and you were singing there? Just take us back.
You know, they say that if you can remember any part of your life in the rock industry, you weren't really there. And so I don't have many memories, but I think that it was, in some ways, it was very ordinary. It was all about my relationship with my instrument and with the music and the singing and that, and I didn't look beyond that. So when I had a manager and things, so I got people came in and managed me, but back then the world was more innocent than it is now.
Yes.
You know, and so there wasn't a lot of pressure or anything on me. I just, it was like a dream in a way, you know, like, we were innocent. We were just exploring drugs. We were just exploring a new way of expressing ourselves with music. We were expressing ourselves through different understandings. Things like vegetarianism became something of an issue. And of course the political thing was there too. So we had a bonding, you know, we felt like we were somehow the chosen few, and because we had something that was giving us so much joy, and at the same time it was a very scary time because the drugs we didn't know what the drugs were going to do. Now it's totally different, but back then we were pioneers, you know, and we had people like Jerry Garcia and people and the bands that reflected our enlightenment. you know. Oh, but because at Woodstock there was meditation. You know, by that time in Woodstock, the family had grown and it had changed from innocence. That was the epitome of innocence, Woodstock. It was like childlike beauty in the fact that it could happen, you know. And that, in a way, that was a good place to say that's as good as we could make it as a generation. After that, the political stuff, we got older, we raised families, and it dissipated into what it is now. And that's what brought me to Osho, because Osho was big on community. He was big on community, and so I went from a big community, from my family, to more of an expanded community. Then, you know, just seeing that community was, you know, that rock industry and the flower power, whatever you want to call it, it was all somewhere about distorted ambitions and wanting to be powerful, wanting to be rich, wanting to be a rock star, and all that kind of stuff. When you put your music and you make those kind of values when you're creating music, you can't help but get into trouble, or you can't because you have to at one point realize why you're making music and what it is, and the spiritual force that music is. And I know you know that because of your amazing work. And for me, it was that. It was coming from a space of amazing intention and innocence, and then I'm coming to a place with Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and I came into the realm of a scientist, a mad scientist, but an amazing scientist. And that was what attracted me. I just jumped into that world, you know, because it was something, all the good of what I'd felt in my bigger family. And because Rajneesh was a radical teacher, he was not a traditionalist, you know. He didn't give us this. We never had dogma. And he also never pushed Indian music on us as if to say this is real music. He really was like, you play your music, you know, because you know that music reflects the community in which it's born. And so this music, Reinhard, I'd never experienced that because I'd always associated music with either entertainment or money or all that. I didn't have another concept until the drugs, until my first reefer, you know, and suddenly I heard Paul McCartney's bass line on something, and it's like, oh my God, that was what opened the door for me into the Beatles and their amazing, you know, the music they made. And it reminded me, the Beatles and Rajneesh, there was no different. In a way, there was a sense of joy and a sense of innocence, and I got back to that through being in Rajneesh's community for so long. It healed every little damaged part of my psyche of being a failed rock musician, you know, and you know, wanting to justify my existence through music and song. Suddenly, I stopped chasing music. I stopped, and I just let the real rhythm appear. Who am I? What is my groove? What is my rhythm? You know, and up until then, I had no concept of that. Rajneesh opened those doors for me. You know.
Can I ask you one thing? How was your very first meeting with Rajneesh? Do you remember? How did you first in person?
I was never that close to him, you know, physically. By the time I came, there were already thousands of disciples. But as my years went on with him, he used to send me gifts. He said to me like he would send me a gift of a towel, you know, and it would be like it's something so beautiful. The master was giving me his towel, you know, and things like that. But the first time, I can tell you the first time I realized that there was something that I'd never met before. And that story is an interesting story. It begins with somebody giving me a book. I was in a very, very fragile state in my life. I'd left the rock industry. I didn't know where I was going. I'd left, my family life had been destroyed. And somebody gave me a book, and it was by Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and it was a collection of transcripted Zen poems that he was talking on. They were koans, and Rajneesh would talk on these, and then they'd make it into a book. And so this book was called No Water, No Moon. Mm-hmm. And there was a story in that book about this is how I came to Rajneesh, really, and that's that I read this story about this Zen nun, and she was called Chiono, and she was going to the well to get water at night on a full moon night, and she's coming back from the well, and she happens to look into the bucket of water where the full moon is reflected, and just happened as she did that, the bucket gave way and broke, and suddenly the disappearance of everything, the moon. And she realized that she'd spent her whole life looking at the reflection of reality and not reality itself. So the story goes that she turned around and saw the moon, and in that moment became enlightened, you know. And it reminded me of myself. It was like that was how I saw music. I knew there was something. I knew that the spirit was there, but I didn't know where. And I was just concentrating on the reflection of it. And when I read that story, I realized, okay, I'm going to find this guy, because this is exactly my story. And I didn't see him for about a year before sannyas, before I took sannyas. So it never felt like a moment where I saw him and that was it. It just felt like a flow. I came to the meditation center in London, and there were all these people in red, and you know, friendly people, and I'm saying, I've just read a book and I would really like to know more about Rajneesh. And they said, oh, come to a meditation, come and see what it feels like, you know. And there was an evening, introductory evening, and I went there and did the meditation and saw a video, and I knew that this was my home. There was no question. And through that, I heard the music. Yeah. And the music was like seeing Osho, because I don't know about physically. I'm happy that I wasn't physically close to him, because somehow all I got was the energy. You know, it was just there was nothing distorted. It was just the energy, and and I saw that the music could be played from that place. Even if it's soft, even if it's gentle, it has that power of authenticity and silence. It has to be born from silence. It has to come from a space of inner silence, you know. So, you know, that's how I came to Osho, and that's my experience of him, really. I never had a big physical man-to-man thing with him.
Which is so unusual, like in the ashram, there is silence, and out of the silence comes then the music, and it goes back into silence, yes. Which actually reflects a little bit TaKeTiNa. We're coming out of silence, we're going into silence. And share a little bit, what did you actually musically first develop in the ashram? I have Eyes, Ocean, Into Your Hands, just a little more. Is this tunes you have developed there, or?
No, these are newer pieces.
Okay.
These are newer pieces. I've done one or two of the older songs. Difficult to capture because they're very simple. The ashram songs were created so we could sing together, because we weren't, Osho wasn't like, I want you to chant mantras, I want you to learn mantras, so we could all chant a mantra together. We didn't have that concept in my ashram. He was so not traditionally minded. So we had to make our own kirtan, and all that was whatever music that where we came from. It was reggae music. He played reggae music, and so we had whatever. It was innocent and very unashamed. It wasn't looking to be technically good, but at the same time, our percussionist in Nivedana was playing with Weather Report, and you get a guy like that playing in a band, and even if he's just playing the cowbell, it's like a Zen master. It was, there we were with our instruments, but the cowbell and Nivedana was just it was a root, and those kind of that they were my learnings really.
Now we're talking about you, we're talking about music. I think it's time to listen to one of your tunes. Are you agreeing? Can we hear?
Sure you can. What one are you going to play?
Eyes, Ocean.
Oh, it's nice. This is beautiful. I have to tell you something about this before you play it. It was composed by the great Sheila Chandra.
Oh.
Yeah, and I just want to... she sang this, and she's the most amazing singer. She's... anyway, it's one of her, and I just love this piece, so I wanted to record it in my own way. And with the band, it's very loose and very... I wanted it to be unstructured, kind of more spontaneous. It's more or less live from the studio floor, this one.
Beautiful. space, so much peace, you know, those things that are so essential in these times right now.
And no structure, you know, so it could just flow for 10 minutes like this, you know. And it's not often that you can have music where you can just let go into that space, you know.
Who was involved in that recording beside of you and Deva?
We have a touring band now, and we have three really great musicians, old friends of mine, people that I knew back before Sannyas, early Sannyas. And the bass player there and the producer is a guy called Joby Baker. Joby's a really you'd love Joby. He's one of those guys. He's a young guy. He's only 45. But I knew him when he was 18, and he was brought up with two session musician parents, and in England, in London, and so he was around all the studios in the 70s, you know, with people like Gus Dudgeon and doing the Elton John. As this little boy was learning and being part of all that, and he could play everything Stevie Wonder was playing, things like this, you know. Anyway, so he's a great guy to have in the band because he's non-judgmental at the same time. As a musician, that's not always easy. But, you know, he's such a beautiful bass player. And then he also plays drums, and he's just a great drummer. He's a great rhythm section. And on keyboards and piano, there's a guy called Spencer Cousins, English guys. Spencer played with Joan Armatradin. Joan Armatradin's piano player for many years. So he's also really seasoned kind of guy. You know, these guys were just loving to be out playing with us because the audiences were so much like that music you just heard. They just wanted to come and sing and be quiet. So it was a great space for the musicians to express themselves in. They were really heard and really appreciated, and they don't always get that, these guys. Sometimes they, you know, and so for them it was like, wow. And we had a great drummer, Miles Bold. Miles is a super percussionist. You would love him. You both really love each other. Miles is he's a very unique character, and he's just he's played on Michael Jackson album. He's been a London studio musician, drummer for a long while. He's very well respected. So for him to come out on the road with us, you know, so basically, but the thing is, Miles wasn't on that recording. Who was on that recording was my old friend Rishi, and Rishi's from Denmark, and he's a drummer. But I didn't want to just use a kind of classical trap set, you know. That was what you heard in that music. I wanted to see what else is there, and Rishi found this big tribal drum, and with a beater, and the whole album he's playing on this, and with maybe a cymbal or something, but basically the whole album he's just using this one drum. So it's a totally different. Even when we play the reggae, he's still just got the one drop, but it somehow just holds it, you know. And so I have great musicians. Those guys are the best. And then there's Manoj. You know, Manoj is another. I think, you know, Manoj is. I can see the connection with you and Manoj because you're both technically really knowledgeable and at ease with your technicality. But at the same time, and this is a beautiful thing, you're both wild spirits. And I can see it in you, Reinhard, of course, you know. And I see it in Manoj, and I can see it in his music, and I see it in yours. And there's this wild spirit, and I see it in the way you walk and the way you play your drums. I've seen, you know, we know each other well. So to have Manoj in there brought a totally different element. It started off for me and Deva, no frills, no nothing, just two voices, the guitar and these mantras and a tambora. And we weren't scholars, we were not pundits, we don't have a lot of anything, but something between those elements created something like a crystal. And it just had its own beauty. Whatever it was, it's only a beautiful crystal. Nothing more or nothing less. And it was a bit like that with me and Deva. She hadn't been a singer. She'd never sung in a nightclub or anything like that. You know, Deva was just somebody who was brought into the music groups, you know, so that I could teach her how to be on a microphone and what it feels like to be with musicians. And so she learned all that with me in the ashram, because by the time we met, I was coordinating the music there. But that was 20, 30 years after, you know, it was a long while before I felt like qualified to play the music that they were playing there, just because it was so free. And yeah, I've lost my thread, Rana. Where were we?
I think that you went to the ashram in 1980, but then Deva came in 1990, like 10 years later, right?
No, Deva was at the ashram about the same time as me. She came to Osho around about the same time. But I think the first time she came to Pune was at that time. But I think before she came to Pune, she'd been living in the German Osho community there.
Oh, okay. Now you're certainly, in this beautiful music, you all connect on a very, very deep level. And I'm interested, there's a guy called John Leckie that you worked with in the ashram. Who was he and what did you do with him?
Oh, his name in sannyas was Nagara, and we've remained the best of friends. In fact, he just had a birthday. I think it was his 70th a couple of weeks ago. We haven't been in touch, and we were just back in touch. And he's enjoying life. He's living out in, I think, out of London. And he has some great stories. You know, he's a real fan of blues. He's a real fan of the real root of something. You know, that's where his starting point with music. You know, and he feels that the blues that you feel when we play. You know, he feels that even though he's not a musician, and that's what brought him into music. And but he did it through working at Abbey Road as a tape op, you know, and then he getting slowly recognition, and he worked on John Lennon's album, and he worked on Pink Floyd's album, and because they were doing those recordings at EMI, and he was part of the engineering team. So he got then from there went to producing people like Dr. John and big pop kind of hits and things. And it's like me, just him and his wife, they were just at a point where they were, I guess, feeling like, what are we going to do with our lives, you know? And they like many of us back then, we were looking and we were searching for something beyond music, because we were so into music. We all, my friends, thought that that's where it ended. So you just looked into the music, and I started to look beyond music, you know, and that's where I came across, and I was forced out of that by you know, not being good enough at my trade to be a working musician. I got so far, you know, like you said, I did some tours with some big bands and played solo, but I was that's, you know, that there had to be something more.
Yeah, you felt that very early on, and luckily you felt that.
Right.
Otherwise we wouldn't have your music. Now, is the Eyes Ocean Into Your Hands just a little more? Is this the same band?
It's the same band. There's two. This is nice. Into Your Hands is something we used to sing in the ashram. You know, I told you the music was very simple in the ashram. It would be 3 chords. Into your hands I lay my spirit, into your hands I lay my life. That was all we sang. We could get into a trance. You could go hanging around this for, you know, long times, just in the trance of those words and singing with a very basic thing. And I love the understanding of that. Like, into your hands I lay my spirit. It feels like
it's beautiful.
A freedom. That, okay, I'm here, and it's not that I'm saying I don't want to participate in life. I'm saying I want full participation. I'm here for that. And afterwards, after we recorded it, well, first of all, with the recording, the simplified thing that we'd done in the ashram just didn't cut it when we had these super musicians, and you know, and it was too simple somehow. It worked at a certain time in history, but when I came to record it, I say, okay, hey, let's look at. So I want the words, so let's make a different melody. Let's look for how to create it, and it's like it came to be kind of gospel. It was very beautiful.
Now, we are very curious now on this, and here is Into Your Hands.
Into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands, into your hands. Into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my spirit. spirit into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands, into your hands, into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands I lay down my spirit. Into your hands I lay my life. Into your hands I lay my spirit. Into your hands
It really brings tears to my eyes. It's so much devotion and peace and everything we need in this world right now. So much. Beautiful.
Thank you, Reinhard. It means a lot to me that the music touches you.
Now, you have done a great work with Deva and mantras also. And so I want to ask you also, what is the magic of mantra? Because you even brought a book out called The Magic of the Mantra, I guess. Was it
Yeah, I
called
don't
that?
know exactly, but they are magic. Yeah, I don't know what the book is, but see, the mantras, because they're in Sanskrit, the language itself is beyond emotion. So we're not in the emotional sense, but you can't. I've said this before, but I'll just say this because you cannot emote mantras. You cannot put it. It's something that just has to come from this pure space. I'm talking about the chanting, the actual singer. And with Deva, it just. I think destiny is involved somehow. Honestly, I do, because I feel like all those years that I've been talking about, we're all an apprenticeship to meeting Deva and sharing the Gayatri Mantra with the world. I think we were both being brought to that place, to that power spot in India, in the ashram in Rajneesh. Somehow our lives were so different. Absolutely different. She was a young German woman, she's a girl, 17, 18, 19 in the ashram, and 20, she meets me. And, and we're just so easy with each other. I'm 23 years older than her, and we live almost inseparable, Reinhard. 30 years now.
Yeah.
And we're still friends, we still never, it's just incredible. And I don't think those things are gifts from God, that you meet your life partner in your life, because it's not always happens, and so I've been very honored to be able to have helped her into being a singer, because she wasn't a singer. She didn't even think of herself as a singer until she came into the ashram, and we got together, and then I realized she could sing harmony lines really well, because she was a trained violinist, and her mother had given her piano lessons and violin lessons and singing, so she had a good musical ear. And because of the pitch, her pitch was really good, because she played violin. So I would bring her into the ashram, we would sing our "Into Your Hands I Lay My Spirit" songs and things, but not mantras. 1 or 2 Sufi mantras, but not much. Not much in the way of the traditional mantras. But when we left the ashram, we were playing around in the meditation centers in Europe, in the Osho meditation centers, because they're the only people that related to us. We were playing Osho songs and back then there was only the Osho centers where you could play them, really, you know. So anyway, we happened to be at a festival, and she heard the Gayatri mantra, and that's when I found her key. It's A minor, because that was when she began to blossom and she began to find her voice. And once it wasn't like, I'm singing this song. It was a pure outpouring of just purity. And I think because the father and mother gave her the Gayatri at conception, and all through the pregnancy and at the birth and all through the childhood, that Deva it's in her bones. So when she sang it, for me it was the greatest thing to be free of my songs and free of this kind of structure. You know, this is the structure, a classic structure when you write a song. It's got an intro, it's got a bridge, it's got a middle eight, and that's what you do. And suddenly I was free of that. It was like there's nothing, it just goes round and round. It just rolls as long as it wants to. And it's totally free to do whatever you want with it. So it was like a totally new way of approaching music. Suddenly this mantra just went on, and I could find her key and put the chords and make the melody together with however it appeared, and there she was. And there was the simple chords, the A minor to the G over, you know. And it was just all simple, but the power of it was amazing. You know, I'd never felt that before I came to the ashram. I felt it in the ashram with songs and pieces, just solid experience of a way of life.
It's a very interesting point that you bring up, because you said. And I believe that you cannot emote mantras, but when you see Deva and you singing, performing this mantra or sharing this mantra, I saw people so deeply touched with tears running down, and with, you know, so out of stillness, out of this beauty comes a deeper emotion, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty.
Yes. Yes, a deeper emotion. There's also, you can say that way. For me, like we in this songwriting and the mantras, I personally, as a songwriter, I never go there anymore. I don't go into the interpersonal. You know, one or two songs I've written in gratitude and recognition of my love for Deva. There's one or two love songs I've written there, you know. And last year, we were talking about this, last year we had fun, me and Joby, in the studio, and recorded this song I just made up almost on the spot, called Just a Little More. And so it's a song you can play sometime. It's very different to the others, because it's real kind of, it's like soul music. We've got the Hammond B3 and the beautiful bass and drums. You'll hear it.
Let's listen to it.
A brass section too.
I want to kiss your lips. I want to hold your body close to mine. Baby, I love it, I love it, I love it just a little more. Every time I want to hold your hand. I want to see you dancing across the floor. Baby, I love it, I love it, I love it just a little more. Forevermore, yeah. I thought my running around was over. I thought my race had already been run. But this joy in my tears to rolls back the years, one by one by one. I want to kiss your lips. Yeah, yeah. I love just a little more. Every time I thought my romancing days were behind me, I thought I'd had my day. But you look in my eyes and I'm hypnotized, baby. You just blow me away. I want to kiss your lips. I want to feel your body close to mine, baby.
The many aspects of Miten.
We had so much fun doing it, and it gets really joyful as a fade out where you hear it some other time, but where it just comes to really nice or beautiful celebratory feeling to the whole music. You know,
It feels really like celebration. Now, actually, you said you could only perform in these Osho centers, but we all know amongst your fans there's Dalai Lama, there is Eckhart Tolle. And what was actually your collaboration with Anthony Robbins?
We were in Australia and we received an email from I can't remember what her name was, but she said, I'm Anthony Robbins' secretary, and they would like to invite you to come and play at their platinum members gathering, which happens certain times in the year, and it's in Prague. And I think they just invited us, so we said, yeah. I wasn't really so aware of Tony's work back then, but we went and we met him, and this beautiful guy, really has a really nice energy. I liked him a lot immediately, and his wife, and there were these people, and they set up in a very kind of exclusive little place a sound system for me and Deva to play for everybody, and Tony wanted us to lead one of those meditations for the people, the platinum members. So that's how we met, and then our friendship continued. In fact, I don't speak very much to Tony now, but the last time we saw each other, we promised each other that if there was anything we needed, we would be there for each other, which is a nice feeling. And because I was saying to him, Tony, that on a spiritual level, if you ever want to hang out on that level, and it's really nice, and his wife is beautiful.
Yeah, come on. Now, what is?
And then, sorry, just to finish that, David did one or two of his courses, and really, it really changed her in very fundamental ways, in good ways. So it was beautiful just to say that about Tony's work.
Beautiful, thank you. So we are still awake, all of us. I think the listeners, we too. That's a very amazing episode. There is a tune from you, Still Awake. Is it from the same album, or is it a different album? Or?
Still Awake is a song that is an older song, and we recorded it, but I didn't release it because it didn't feel finished. And during the lockdown, I had time to finish it, and with Joby, so we did long distance. For he has a studio in Canada.
Yeah, wow.
So
it's most recent,
it's possible to do, yeah. So
it's the most recent thing you did, actually.
So that's the most recent thing that it's a new vocal, and it's finished. It's nice. I think it's a very beautiful song.
And we hear it right now.
I open up my eyes She opens up her senses. We're dropping our defenses. We're letting go. I open up my arms. She opens up her voice. We make a conscious choice to be here now. So even when we fall asleep, we are still awake. And even when we close our eyes, we still see the light. So I open up my life. You know, I feel the spirit move me. It's funny how I used to be afraid, but now I'm hanging out with the clouds and I'm sliding down rainbows. Me, Deva, and my nose for company. So even when I fall asleep, I am still awake. And even when I close my eyes, I still see the light. And this is where we come from. This is where we come from. This is where we go. This is where we go. This much I know. So we open up our hearts. You know, we were not born to follow. Life is just another hollow bamboo flute. So let the music call our ancestors and teachers. They know where to reach us. They know who we are. So even when we fall asleep, we are still awake.
Miten, I really honor you for having changed and helped the lives of so many people around the globe. You're a great man, really. And I feel honored to be your friend, really.
My brother.
So good to have you here. Yes, so anything you want to still share? That's the moment.
Okay, I think I'm done. What about you?
Yeah, we
could.
We had a very great conversation, I think, and so we gradually finished that, maybe with some of my latest music also, which is orchestral music.
Yes, please, man. One day we will play the Gayatri together, Reinhard.
Oh, we should.
You know, we would play it with such beauty, and it will be a gift to all of us who have that moment. I hope we have that before we die, a moment when we play the Gayatri Mantra together. It would be so beautiful.
That sounds like the most beautiful invitation. Thank you so much. Tell our listeners, where can we find you in the net?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I don't really do that.
Just go to Deva's page and Deva Premal.
Yeah, you'll find me.
We find you posts everywhere because
I'll be in bed with Deva somewhere.
So, this was the episode with Miten. And if you like my podcast, please subscribe. You go to powerofrhythm.com/podcast. You also can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And I hope that really, really brought you to some deep emotions, deep reflections. It was a big honor to talk to Miten today. Have a great day.